ancestors' breath. When the fire's voice is heard, 'tis the ancestors' breath. In the voice of the water. There's a pop quiz at the end, so listen more often to things than to beings. Told you. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard.
'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard.
'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Zah. Zah. Whoosh. Whoosh. Zah. Whoosh. Zah. Whoosh. Zah. Whoosh. Those who have died and never, never left, the dead are not under the earth.
They are in the rustling trees, they are in the groaning woods, they are in the crying grass, they are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth.
So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters.
Voice of the waters.
Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living.
They are in the woman's breast, they are in the wailing child, they are with us in our homes, they are with us in the crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings.
'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. 'Tis the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters. Sigh. Whoosh.
Y'all sound amazing, right? You know that, right? You sound so good out there. Thank you for being here. It's wonderful to get to be together in person, some of us online. It's so good to be together. My name's Jen Crow. I'm one of the ministers at First Universalist Church of Minneapolis. Welcome to each and every person that's here. Welcome to anybody biking or walking by or with half an ear to us while they're doing something else here. We're glad each and every one of you are here. Our church is a place you can come however you are. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you're carrying, whatever your identity is, all of you is welcome here, and we are glad you're here with us. First Universalist Church was founded over 160 years ago, and we engage in the spiritual practices of giving and receiving and growing together. We listen deeply to where love is calling us next. We act with bravery and humility and compassion in the service of justice. And I'm not looking at my notes. What's the other one, people? We listen deeply to where love is calling us next. We welcome, affirm, and protect the light in each and every human heart. We do all of this as a faith community that is grounded in our commitment to racial justice, in creating a beloved community, a community of liberation and transformation for all of us, with an end to oppression. This is the life we invite you into. This is the community and the practices we invite you into when you journey with us. We're so glad you're here. So today, we are not on Zoom, for which I am grateful. And of course, there are a few things we're missing that way too. But being together in person, there are a few things we're doing differently. So we have ushers out there. Ushers, if you wouldn't mind just waving your hands so folks can see you. If you're new and have questions, check in with our ushers. If you have a joy, sorrow, concern, gratitude, something you want shared in our collective prayer, they have green slips of paper. You can write down your joy, sorrow, concern, gratitude, and they will get it to us, and we will speak it out loud, and we will hold that together. Also, they will be collecting the offering when we get to that point in the service. So will be collecting cash offering if you wish to give that way, but you can also give online through our church website, firstuniv.org. You can find the order of service there if you'd like. You can find the links to the offering. You can find out more about our church at firstuniv.org. So friends, this morning we are grateful to have some of our kids and youth with us. If you're here, we're so glad you are here. Thanks for coming. So partway through the service, the children and youth will be excused to go with their teachers and head off for some activities for a while outside, so pay attention for that spot. And next week, we are going to be doing something different, which I swear I have said every week of this pandemic. So yet again, we'll be doing something different next week. So our youth, 7th grade and up, your religious education programming will be in person at the church building at 9:30 and 11:30. Youth, 7th grade through 12th grade, 9:30 and 11:30 in the church building. At 10:30, we will live stream a service live from our building, from the sanctuary, newly renovated, so gorgeous. 10:30 live stream, and then available throughout the week later. Anyone who is bringing their youth to the programming at 9:30 or 11:30, you are welcome to come and be at worship in the sanctuary with your family. So worship will be happening in the sanctuary, and also we'll have online options down in the social hall, Cummins room, classrooms if you want to be a little more separated. So we know that throughout the pandemic, we have been doing our best as a church community. All of us have been facing our own struggles through this, and our families have been facing particular challenges. So in the spirit of community, like we are inviting our youth, our kids and families back into the building first, because this is what community looks like when we care for each other in this way. And then on November 7th, our hope and our plan is to welcome everyone back to the building for services at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. with a live stream option. So that's the plan, that's what we're moving toward, and we are very excited to get there. But first, we are here. We are here together, and we are here in a very particular place. So I want to ground us in the right here and now. Here we are with Minnehaha Falls just over there. The rush of the water, we can sense it, smell it, hear it, even if we cannot see it from here. We know the water is close. And this is a particular place in the world, a particular place in this city, in this land. About 2.5 miles from here is Coldwater Spring. a site of fresh water that has been flowing for more than 10,000 years. In fact, the scientists say it's been flowing there under the glaciers, still going. You can make a trip over there. And that water from the cold water spring meets up with Minnehaha Creek, with the Mississippi River. This is a place of a confluence of the waters. This is a place that has been sacred for so many years and generations. It was the traditional gathering place for the indigenous tribes of the upper Mississippi, of the Anishinaabe and the Dakota peoples. This was a sacred place, a neutral place, a place where the tribes would come to gather. And the spring was a source of the sacred water. Now things shifted dramatically in a short period of time here. If you look at the time period of 1850 to 1862, this area went from being a sacred gathering place instead to being a place of internment, not that far from here, during the US Dakota War, when it became a place of great suffering for many, many of our indigenous siblings. So this place holds it all. It holds joy, gathering, neutrality, sacred nature. It holds the confluence of the waters. It holds joy and it holds suffering. In 1889, this became one of the first state parks in the United States, a place where folks would come to gather, to have picnics, to see the water, to be together. It became, again, in a different way, a gathering place. And I love knowing that in 2014, this park housed the first universally accessible play area in the city. This place holds it all, and so can we. So let's remember the people of resilience, of resistance, of joy and sorrow that have cared for this land, that have called this land home, and let's breathe deep in this place together. And let's light our chalice.
We have Bee lighting our chalice for us this morning. Will you do call and response style chalice lighting words with me, please? Love is the spirit of this church.
Love is the spirit of this church.
And service is its law.
And service is its law.
This is our great covenant.
This is our great covenant.
To dwell together in peace.
To dwell together in peace.
To seek the truth in love.
To seek the truth in love.
And to help one another.
And to help one another.
And they are all sprightly claps, and they're all together. That's it, but you can't forget it.
That's me. Gotta grab a sip of water. What would we be without water? Yeah, coffee, for one thing. Indeed. Water, though, water is life, we say, but for real, you know, our bodies are made mostly, excuse me, out of water. Water is such a simple thing, in its tiniest form. It's just 3 atoms, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen. The molecule is so small that we can't see it. In order for us to be aware of it, there has to be a lot of those molecules, right? There has to be a community of H2O. Like we are a community, like we are water. So we're going to be in flow today, and we're going to embody the story. We'll all make it together. And the story is about water and about community. I said at the first service that I grew up in the 80s, the dawn of hip hop, and we used to do a dance like this. We called it the wave. I'm not gonna ask you to do any hip hop dancing, but I am gonna ask you to embody the wave the way that we do at a sporting event, like at a football game or a basketball game. Yeah, you know it when you go. And it starts from one end. It's gonna start, I'm pointing at you with the guy. Yes, you're our starter. And so you all are starting because you can't see that person. That person is behind you. But we're gonna start on this end, and we're gonna do a wave all the way to the other end. Are you all ready? Here we go. Yes. Fantastic. That is what community looks like. Now, what I forgot to say is that we need to add a sound to it for our family who may be visually impaired so that they can also witness and participate in this wave. So whatever the wave sounds like to you, when you're waving your body, also wave your voice, please. Can we do it one more time? Can we start from this end this time? Are you ready? Here we go. Oh, you all make good water, refreshing to my soul. So the thing about water, when I was preparing, I found out that these waves that we witness, the ones that we can see, are almost always caused by wind. And so there are winds that cause waves in our culture too. There are winds that cause waves in our community. And we have to decide, are we gonna go with the flow? Woo! Or is this a wind of causes and conditions that are not helpful, that may be harmful to people in our community? Because the thing about waves is that they go and they go and they go until either they run out of ocean or river or creek or wherever they are, or until they hit a barrier. And so we have to decide as a community and as individuals, really, are we gonna be in the flow? Is this a wave that is going to be transformative in a way that is going to cause growth and beauty and love? Or is it a wave of fear? Is it a wave of oppression? Is it a wave of ignorance? And then how, if it is that, are we gonna stop it? And so I want to invite us to, when it is a wave that we don't want, that we have to create a barrier. Arms up to the side. No wave can pass by here. In that way. So let's say on this side we started with a wave of friendship, right? And the friendship is great. But by the time we get over here, the friendship has closed in on itself and it's become very cliquey, and it has become a bullying force to other people outside of that clique. Are we gonna let that wave continue to go through the whole community? What are we gonna do? Let's see, can you demonstrate? Thank you. Let's see, it's friendly over here. Can we start our wave over here, the friendship wave? Woo! Oh no, it turns into a bullying wave. What are you gonna do? Stop. Thank you. So let's start a wave of peace over here, and it's a peaceful wave. It's not gonna turn into non-peaceful wave. One more wave, here we go. Woo! Thank you. We are water, and we can be in flow, and we can discern when flow is not healthy, and decide when we are going to redirect the flow. So one more, I said that was the last one, but one more. Because once we stop the flow, like when you put a barrier in the middle of the wave doesn't just come to a complete stop, right? What does it do? It just ripples back out in the other direction. So let's start a wave of, I don't know, any ideas? I'm lost. What did you say? Say it one more time. Despair. A wave of despair is coming through. Somewhere it's going to stop, and since we heard despair from this end, and then we're going to send out a wave of hope from that barrier back in both directions. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. Despair, sorry. Woo! Who's going to, it stopped right here. What's going to happen? Excellent. I think we have trained ourselves now how to be in flow. We will move into our prayer.
Let's get our bodies settled down a little bit so we can move into this time of prayer. Let's start by just noticing where we are, noticing the surroundings. If you're a hearing person, notice if you might be able to hear the river. Notice if you might feel the river. Can you sense the river? This is where we are. Here we are. Some of us in new bodies, some of us in old bodies. Here we are. Some of us in healthy bodies, some of us in hurting bodies, some of us in healing bodies, some of us in growing bodies, all of us in temporary bodies, all of us in good bodies. Let's let that river that is nearby, that creek that is near us, move our bodies. Let your body make the shape that it wants to make as you imagine Minnehaha Creek as it wiggles by, as it dances past, as it flows into the mighty Mississippi. Let your body make that movement. As it flows so far, down, down, down to the Gulf of Mexico, it spreads out in a delta and joins the Gulf. And then it flows out to the Atlantic. Big waves. It evaporates and becomes a cloud. The clouds are blown miles and miles, and rain comes down onto Lake Hiawatha. The water flows back into Minnehaha Creek and over Minnehaha Falls. And here we are.
Let's stay in that place of prayer. Breathing in, breathing out. When we come together for worship, we make time for prayer, time to open our hearts, open our spirits, to hold together the joys and the concerns, the worries and the gratitudes of this community. Extending the care of this congregation so that it embraces all and ripples out. Let's be here for a moment. Feel the ground. Feel our roots going down deep into the earth. Nourished by that deep, cold water. Feel the air on our skin. Feel that which is greater than us, all around us. You might call it God. You might call it love. You might call it the values that are most important to you. To that which is greater than us, to that which holds all. Will you pray with me? Spirit of life and love, breath of our ancestors, voice in the wind, in the water, in the sun and the rain. Be with us. Help us to hold and make more space in our hearts for all of the joys, the sorrows, the worries, and the gratitudes in our hearts, in the hearts of those around us, and in this beautiful, beloved world. And now, as we share joys and sorrows, worries and gratitudes in the community, if you feel moved to add to what we are sharing, I invite you to speak that aloud or hold it in the silent sanctuary of your heart.
Today we share in each other's joys, sorrows, gratitudes, concerns. We share in gratitude with one in our community that is able to lift people up when they need it, knowing we have all needed that at times. Concern for my favorite stuffed animal that might lose her tail. Joy for new friendships at a new school. Concerns about illness, trouble diagnosing and treating. Gratitude for my family's health. Concern for our vaccinated niece, Aimee, who is hospitalized with COVID. For a beautiful day in the neighborhood. For liberty and justice for all. For hummingbirds at flowers. For a quick energy grab for their long journey ahead. For being together at the park. For being together outside with our youth. Thank you, Lauren. For Dennis Indall, father of Chris Indall. Dennis is recovering from ankle and spinal surgery and just wanting to go home, but has a long recovery ahead. Joy celebrating 12 years of marriage with my wonderful partner, Jason, today. Grateful for the most beautiful fall I can remember. joy for this spectacular fall day. Prayers for our dear mentors and friends of 47 years. Harriet passed away peacefully in Bob's arms on Tuesday. Joy in seeing the morning mist on the Black River in Wisconsin. Joy of being together, and a prayer for family health. Grateful for warm Septembers, for beautiful fall days in the park. Grateful for sunny, warm September days, for being reunited with loved ones, and concern, how will I finish my homework? For my new fiance, excitement to be back in religious education, concerned to join the senior youth group, happy about beautiful weather, joy to be back in person together, concerned about another serious mugging in the uptown area. We hold so much together.
For all that we have named, and for all that is still held in the silent sanctuary of our hearts, let us pray together that the grip of addiction be loosened, that the weight of oppression be lightened, that truth be told, that joy break through, and that love make every suffering bearable for us all. May it be so. Amen.
Our children here. We're going to excuse our kindergartners up through senior high in just a moment to get reacquainted or acquainted for the first time. If this is the first time that you've joined religious education with us, you are most welcome. Please come and play. Our kindergartners through 5th graders will be here at the picnic tables. Our 6th and 7th graders on the other side at the couple of tables here. Our 8th, 9th, and senior high youth will be behind the congregation. That would be Claire calling the OWL students, I believe. The 8th and 9th graders. There's not going to be anything fun happening, I promise. Please come and join us. Let's go play.
See you guys.
helping percussion, you know. That works, or anything more complicated, either one.
So I bet you can imagine that planning worship together is kind of a lot of fun. We're having a really good time, and we are going to some deep places as we work together. So this week, as we were talking about holding back the waters and the waters, Glen Thomas introduced me to a song by Melanie DeMore, and this is a song that they wrote when a good friend was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, stage 4, and they wanted, through song, to be able to communicate that they were with them, no matter what was happening. So it is one of my fears in life to sing alone in public, and yet, here we go. So please help me out as soon as you understand how this goes, okay? So the song is simple. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. Thank you. So I'm going to invite you to sing this with me a couple of times as I tell you some stories. So be ready to help me out, please. I appreciate it. So I love the way that you all get me to take risks. I love being in community with all of you, and I love being here. Every time we gather for worship, whether it's Sundays or Wednesdays or whenever we are gathering through the week, we are engaging in a communal spiritual practice, an opportunity for us to connect to our deepest selves, to each other, to something larger than ourselves. We do this together when we gather in worship every week. Each of you is a standing stone in this community. Whether we're in person or apart, each and every person, past, present, future, is a standing stone in this community. So we do this every week in worship, but I like to talk about the maintenance of our spiritual life being bigger than a weekly practice. The maintenance of a spiritual life when we are ever trying to align how we are in the world with our deepest beliefs, our beliefs in love and hope and a circle wide enough to hold us all. It requires more than just a once-a-week touchstone. I believe it requires a daily spiritual practice, weekly communal practice, at least monthly service to the community, an annual retreat time when you can go deep, and perhaps a once-in-a-life pilgrimage. Daily spiritual practice, weekly communal spiritual practice, monthly acts of service, annual retreat, once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage. This is one framework for how to think about maintenance and care for your spiritual life and for ongoing spiritual growth. Now, I am a huge believer in daily spiritual practice because it is something I have been up to myself for more than 20 years now, and it grounds me like nothing else. I wake up each morning, I begin with prayer, I go to some writing. Those are my anchor touchstones. But I will tell you that this past 18 months, I've kind of needed to up my game. What I've been doing for a long time hasn't been enough, and I needed to shift gears. Maybe it's because I, like so many of you, was home throughout the pandemic times with kids who were home as well, trying their best to do online learning in a house that was never quiet. But there was something else to it too for me that let me know I needed to up my game, my spiritual practice game. It was spring of 2020, just after the pandemic had really reached us in earnest, when I got a call from my dad with pretty bad news. Now, I'll tell you at the front end, he is still here and doing better than anybody expected, but that call came and I learned that he had stage 4 cancer, terminal, with a really tight timeline. And I had been with some of you who had been experiencing illness, folks who had had to go into the hospital, and I knew that at that point in the pandemic, once someone went into the hospital, it was often hard to get to them. So I heard this news from my dad, and I knew immediately what I needed to do. I had to get there. Now, he lives in Baltimore. It's a bit of a drive, but I did what my heart told me to do. I packed up the kids along with a lot of antimicrobial spray and gloves and snacks so we didn't have to stop anywhere, and we talked about how we were gonna deal with the bathroom issue on the drive, and we set out. And I'll tell you, we got to Chicago and I started to have a very surreal experience. This was still in the early days of the pandemic and no one was out. And I have driven through Chicago hundreds of times in my life, and no matter what time of day it is, middle of the day, middle of the night, wee hours of the morning, the place is always packed. You can never drive straight through Chicago. But I got there and I was driving straight through Chicago, the only one on the expressway in huge stretches, and it felt like I was living in the apocalypse. It was a bizarre and really disconcerting experience. And we were partway through the city and I passed this billboard that said, "Alone, together, we'll get through this." And I thought, this is bizarre, and I took a deep breath and I started to imagine and know all the people that were in the buildings around me, the banks of the riverbed, if you will, that I was driving through. Each one of them a standing stone, each one of them doing what they could to hold back the tide of this horrible illness, each one of them using their intensive care, being alone, all together in that city. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. So the kids and I landed in Maryland eventually with my dad, and it was so very good to see him. He was uncomfortable and in pain, and it was hard, but it was good to be together. And we were grateful for the time, and we didn't know how much time we would have. Now, heading to my dad's house for my kids is something we look forward to, but it is also a place where if you're gonna stay there, my dad has a love of modern art and Art Deco, and almost all of his furniture is made of glass. I have children. The glass tables have sharp corners. They get dirty. It's not an ideal place for kiddos. There's no TV, my dad just reads history, and there are no toys, and all of our usual things were not available to us there. We couldn't go to the trampoline park or the children's museum or take a break and go to the movies. But I was very, very grateful. A friend of mine from New York heard that I was traveling to my dad's, and she drove down to meet me. We had another friend with an empty house, so my friend brought her kid, and she came down, and we met up together. And when there were slow times, she would take my kiddos, or we would go together. And one day, she said, "Why don't we go to the river? There's a river here that you have told me so much about, the river that you grew up across the street from, the one you used to go wading in and fishing, and all kinds of stuff. The place where you've told me about this, there's a big rock there that you used to go lay on and look up at the sky, or lay down and look down at the minnows moving through the water. Your God rock, you called it. Let's go find it, she said. Okay. We didn't have anything else to do, so we headed out, all of the kids and us in our dingiest clothes, finding a way through my old neighborhood where I grew up, walking between the houses, hoping that nobody would, worry that we were doing something we shouldn't be doing. We found the river, and the kids and my friend and I, we waded through. We found the old swimming hole where I used to swim all the time. We saw a pileated woodpecker, we saw deer, we saw so many amazing things, and we had the best day. It's probably one of my top 10 best days of my life, being in that river with my kiddos and all those connections. We met the people who bought my piano teacher's house. We gathered up other kids along the way. We had a blast. We got to the end of our adventures in the river, and the kids were concerned because we'd never found the rock. And in my mind, of course, that rock was enormous, and it would be impossible that it wouldn't be there 30 years later or whatever, but it wasn't. And the kids asked me how I was doing that we didn't find the rock. And I said, well, I'm a little surprised because the rock was enormous. I don't know where it could have gone, but I'm not sad. The day reminded me of the things that are most true, that my standing stones are you guys. They're my memories, they're the river. Everything I need is in here, is here, is here. It's all here. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. So I wonder, what are our standing stones? What are the spiritual practices that hold back the water or make space for it to flow to our spirits and our lives? What are your spiritual practices, daily, weekly, intermittent, whatever, that ground you, that help you know you are connected deeply? What helps you listen to where love is calling you next? Who are your standing stones? Who are the people past, present, future who are with you, who make a way for you? And who are you the standing stones for? For this community, for sure. For the folks that you care for and love. For others we haven't even met. How might we be standing stones, blocking the water when needed, letting it flow and building when it is good? What are your standing stones? How might you be a standing stone for each other? I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. I will be your standing stone. I will stand by you. Amen.
Friends, each week when we gather, we make time to practice one of our standing stones of this faith community, which is the spiritual practice of generosity. This week's offering goes to support this church, to support our work to strengthen the church, our work for love and justice in the world, our work to support this beautiful backdrop of children gathered in spiritual community to play and grow our spirits. So in just a moment, ushers are going to come by with baskets. I encourage you to be as generous as you are able. If you'd like, you can give online, firstuniversalistchurch.org.
riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside. Study war no more. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside. Study war no more. Sing with me. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Where you study war? I'm gonna lay down my social media down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. Down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my Twitter account down by the riverside. Study war no more. I ain't gonna 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 study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. Ain't gonna study war no more. No more.
Thank you, thank you. May we know ourselves as standing stones for each other. May we know ourselves held in the care of this mighty riverbed, of this place, of this confluence of the waters of this community. May we lay down our burdens and grow in strength together. May it be so. Amen.